The Red Guitar. Their home was eclectic, to put it kindly. Actually, it was cluttered because there was so much stuff, presumably from the family farm they had left behind in what was now Eastern Europe. Friends of my parents, they were typically German, strongly connected to Europe, but trying to assimilate into this African life. There were endlessly fascinating objects on display, including a rather beautiful blonde guitar, which always preoccupied me on my visits there. No one played it, and I coveted that object more than words can describe. They must have known, and bless them for it, right out of the blue one fine day, I came home with this beautiful maple wood F-hole acoustic guitar in its no-nonsense canvas bag. This was in the early 60s, and for the time, it was quite a smart instrument. It took about 3 months for me to work out, I thought, how to tune it and play some basic chords and riffs. My school buddy Asher, a competent player, corrected my tuning. I had the second string at C rather than B, and he helped me along to a stage where I was able to sit in with him and his 2 brothers in their band, the Little Bees. They played a lot of Shadows tunes, which Asher, who wasn't yet a teenager, played excellently. From somewhere, I had smosed a pickup so that my rhythm parts could be heard, and, I still can't really believe it, painted that beautiful maple wood red. Well, the Cliff and Shadows image kind of required it. Today, I have several magnificent guitars and other instruments, but sadly my collection does not include that red guitar. Asher and I went on to form a pretty reasonable Simon and Garfunkel-esque folk duo, practicing regularly in his family apartment at Valona Court, Monument Township, in the Wild West Rand. Krugersdorp, that is. This was all to the enthusiastic encouragement of his kindly parents. These were immensely special times, in which I got to know a liberal domestic atmosphere, very different to my own immigrant blue-collar upbringing. I learned freedom songs, which Asher brought back from his Habonim camps that I remember to this day. It was Asher who reduced my tongue-twisting Teutonic handle, Reinhard, to a more manageable Reini. For me, it was a symbol of acceptance, confirmation that my immigrant whiff was wearing off steadily and that I was becoming one of the crowd. It was delightful. Parallel to our folk duo, I got involved in my first real band, with a proper manager, who was the lead guitarist's dad. The band was called the Beetroots, which even did gigs in Johannesburg. Although he never said so, Asher's nose was a bit bent by this defection on my part, and I tried to fix it by inviting him to join us for some of our bigger gigs. It was my first encounter with muso-politics. For a while, Asher and I travelled together daily from Krugersdorp along Ontdekkers Road via the infamous Fitas precinct to Wits Law School in Braamfontein. We drove in a pickup truck belonging to his father's building company. The signwriting, Klavansky and Foster Builders, allowed us access to the best campus parking. But Asher left after 3 years of law to live in Israel, where he became a diligent dairy farmer at Nir Eliyahu kibbutz. I visited him there years later, by which time he had become a family man and a seasoned Israeli. I was staying in a business hotel in Tel Aviv, and he came into town to meet up for coffee. It had been difficult to make contact, as this was before cell phones, and the telephone booth on the kibbutz often went unanswered because everyone was working. When I told him that I wanted to see his life firsthand, I detected a measure of hesitation, but it was duly arranged, and on the next day I made the trip by way of a number of sheruts, which are taxis, to Nir Eliyahu. I had expected a different scenario to our suburban Rivonia spread, but this was a good deal more left-wing. Their house was tiny, and there were absolutely no frills. Asher was in charge of the dairy, a substantial operation obviously run with zealous efficiency, the kind that can only come from intense dedication and passion. I was proud of him and his young family. Their life was certainly not for the faint-hearted. He gave some 15 years to this community and then ultimately returned to Gauteng to resume his African life. How wonderful it would be to perform a selection of those old songs together one more time. The Wild West. I remember walking, stomach weak with fear, 'cause I am the foreign boy, not from around here. And there are baddos everywhere who'll slag you for amusement. So I just look straight ahead, hope they don't choose me. And the folks? They don't really talk the language. Their hearts are back in Europe. My head is in a sandwich. Living in the Wild West. I don't mean the US. Talking about the Wild West Rand. Though it was simple, it often wasn't easy. The mission was always grand. Somehow we got through laerskool, kaalvoet atletiek, and a great trek every year. None of us had very much, but it was just enough to get us to the seat of higher learning. Took a train from Leopard Trust to Braamfontein. Later, on my Honda down on Dekkers Road through Fitas. Sometimes in the local builder's bakkie, before he went to Israel to make his milk and honey. Saw the liquid crystal exploding from the tap, with Puff the magic dragon laughing at the back. Wild West. Talking about the Wild West Rand. Though it was simple, it often wasn't easy. The mission was always grand. And now, we live in paradise, op die donker continent. There are still baddos, especially in government. But by the hand of silk and money, and protection from ADT, we'll defend this southern castle and love our gorgeous mother of all cities. Forget about the Wild West Rand. We're in the deep south now, our own Monte Carlo at the tip of Africa. The Protest Singer. On the stage stands the protest singer, confronted by 10,000 people, all come to hear him sing the truth. A peaceful man of simple words, whose observations and philosophies make him a man not loved by everyone. Hidden from the singer lies the assassin with a rifle in his hand, waiting for the lights to dim to activate his plan. A man of small horizons, whose hunger and mental poverty obscure his inhibitions and sympathies. As the words of the singer fly across the ears of eternity, the bullet of the assassin tears him down, and deep within the audience there's a young girl who can't believe her eyes. As she cries, her heart dies the death of her man on the stage. And when it's all over, and the crowds have read the news, in a downtown cafe, a woman sings the blues.